The Broncos' biggest regular season game in a long, long time is on tap with the Chiefs coming to Empower Field at Mile High. Chris Harris and I break it all down. Football Fridays starts now. Chris,
What's up, world?
Broncos off that win Friday. You and I talked, and I think before, we did our show as a post-game reaction basically the next day. But
Yeah.
as we looked at what they did on their mini buy, most guys just chilled. I think we need to start with the biggest news of the week in that world, because I think it transcends football. And courtesy of a drug test a week ago, levels were significantly higher in a certain area for one Alex Singleton. Finds out he has early detection of testicular cancer, gets all the information, keeps it mostly to himself. I think not only medical staff, some of the coaches knew. VJ let us know that he knew last week, but then goes out, plays a game, has a good game against his brother's favorite team. Like when they play the Raiders, he said his brother will wear his CFL jersey because his brother loves the Raiders so much. Big game, all smiles in the locker room. This is the second time where he's had something major going on. He didn't know he tore his ACL against Tampa, but he was all smiles after that one too, where he played all but 3 snaps for the torn ACL. He was all smiles. Said we have the best defense in the league, and then has the procedure on the testicular cancer on Friday, and now is out for an undetermined amount of time, but they're not putting him on IR yet because he could be back sooner than later. What was your reaction to the news?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking this is, a win for, the NFL being able to track some of these different cancers or diseases with the test. I always wondered if they had tested more than just for the steroids, but, that clearly showed us. But in this case, we're definitely glad they do, because it's it's something that could have been definitely major situation for him, and no telling if he was lingering with him and his body and how he was feeling and recovery and things like that. So I'm glad they were able to find it and track it and get that surgery right away. And so now that he started his recovery and get back, hopefully he's ready to go by the time playoffs come.
Well, and maybe sooner. Like there was talk that he could maybe even gotten out there this week. I think that they're taking it easy with him, but then you get the bye week, so maybe we see him against the Commanders. He told the team, I guess Monday after he'd already had the procedure, but told them before it became public. Then it gets out there. Sean Payton talks about it after Alex puts the news out with the team. Then Alex talked to the media just on the phone on that conference call. But as each guy came up this week during press conferences, I asked Bo Nix, I asked Cortland Sutton. Here's Cortland Sutton's reaction, one of the team captains, second longest tenured player on the squad, to the news that one of the other captains obviously is going through something pretty serious.
What was your reaction to Alex's news, diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you hear cancer, come, for anybody, or of any light, it's one of those things that no matter how strong that person is, that it's something that it's not something to take lightly. It's something that obviously can impact families, impact communities. It can take a toll, and I went up to him and I told him, I appreciate him sharing it with us before it came out, I guess you could say, because I'm sure it's one of those things that when you hear that word, there's a lot of thoughts that can cross your mind. And one of the things that's encouraging, I guess you can say, about Alex is, man, as y'all know, the dude is such a strong-minded individual, and strong physically, strong mentally, and he's been thrown a lot of adversity in his life, and the way that he responds is one of those, it's truly inspirational. And we all are rallying behind him and supporting him, and praying that all his tests and everything comes back the way that they're supposed to, and that he can continue to keep being who he is. And grateful that he was able to find it as early as he was, so that it wasn't something that he found out down the road and it became a bigger issue than it is right now.
And that was the sentiments from the team, but I don't remember, and you can refresh my memory, and you obviously played more places than here, but did you ever have a teammate that went through some sort of scare like this off the field. We obviously saw the tragedy in Dallas last week. I don't think you had, in your time in Denver, you were thankfully, like Kenny McKinley, that tragic incident happened before you got here. You were able to avoid stuff like this, but I imagine, it's like Court said, it puts it in perspective when you know a teammate's going through something more than just an ankle roll or a knee injury or whatever.
Of course, everybody in there is going through things, and especially in the NFL, off the field, family, all types of distractions. So to be able to get this nipped in the bud, start working on his health. It's a good thing that when you're in the NFL, they check everything, right? You go through numerous of tests on your body, so it's a good thing they were able to find this fast, so he can start his recovery. And it's crazy that he played. Just salute to him, and and being able to still sacrifice his body to go out there and get wins for us. And I'm pretty sure that goes a long ways amongst the locker room.
Yeah, when you're like, oh, I'm not feeling like this dude had cancer in his body and still went out and played against the Raiders. So that should, yeah. And we get a sense, we're going to hear from VJ about what makes this defense special coming up in a little bit, but you were around these guys a little bit and you can see it. You've been on special teams, whether it be the KU team that won an Orange Bowl your freshman year, or obviously a Super Bowl team, 2 Super Bowl, teams. You know what a special team feels like. And I'm not saying that means they're going to the Super Bowl, but it does feel like these guys really do like each other and really do play for one another. But that's probably a good thing, how well they've rallied around him and how it'll allow guys to say, all right, if this guy's doing that, then I have to I'm playing for him right now. Like if I'm Justin Sternad and Dre Greenlaw, I'm trying to pick him up this week.
Right. And they do have that relationships in the locker room. You can see how they, interact with each other, play for each other on the field, the sideline celebrating, and they believe in their quarterback. So if you have a belief in a quarterback that every game you can win, every game is possible in the NFL. And they have it in Denver, and now it's just going out there and being able to execute, clean up the things, the penalties, interceptions, things that we can eliminate to be able to take that next step. And as you go into the end of November, December, to play the big time football games.
And so, you talk about these guys, their comfort level with each other. They got I guess a little lucky with the way the league is set up, because the familiar face just walked through the door this week, and he's going to play on Sunday. You got Trent Sherfield banged up with a toe. He came in. Little Jordan Humphrey, they wanted him back. He wanted a chance to maybe have a bigger role in an offense. So he goes to the Giants, doesn't end up even making their 53. He's on their practice squad. And even with Malik Neighbors going down, they've kept him on the practice squad because they have some flexibility there. But they like some other receivers, I guess, more, and they haven't needed him on special teams. I could argue that they needed him a lot of places. So little Jordan Humphrey just goes practice squad to practice squad and walks right in the door where he knows everybody in the locker room for the most part, knows the playbook. And with Darren Rizzi, even though it's his first year here, he obviously played for him in New Orleans. Did you play with LJ your last year there in New Orleans?
Nah, he wasn't there.
Yeah, but so he was there for those couple of years. I guess how nice is it that a guy that meant a lot, not only on special teams, but even to the offense last year, he was third in catches, can just walk right into the building like he never left.
I mean, being able to get him, he was productive in Denver, and he's productive with Sean Payton, so he knows he's a guy he can plug and play, especially until Mims is able to return. There has been a little drop off in the receiver since Mims been out, so to be able to get a guy like Humphreys to be able to help the receiving room in special teams, that's a big pickup for us. A sneaky pickup that, a guy that does the dirty work can catch the ball and have great yards after catch, and, just knows the system.
Well, and we expect we'll see Marvin Mims back, but I love the idea when they're on the field and it's any kind of package that'll have LJ in with Cortland Sutton and Pat Bryant, and especially if they get into the screen game to one of the backs or to one of the other receivers or to a tight end, because I don't have the rankings for wide receiver blocking, but that's 3 of the best blockers at that position in the NFL, and to have them out on the field together. We know how much they've looked at the screen game, and with RJ Harvey, they may look to obviously bolster it even more, or, rely on it more. Having those guys out there, you got to feel confident about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in our screen game, I think we're just decent right now. I think we kind of do it a little bit too much. Where we fall behind of where Bo's not really throwing down the field plays or drop back pass, right? With those a lot of screens. And probably that's another reason why they picked him up. Better blocking, right? Add more blockers over there to get the edge. Also, we do need more production in that room, right? The competition is going to get up. The defenses are going to get better. It's going to be tighter windows to throw, right? Better secondary. So we got to continue to improve in the receiver room because they are young, regardless of Cortland, right? He's a vet, but after him, everybody else is pretty young.
Yeah, so to get a guy that comes in with that experience, that can only help the entire locker room, the special teams unit, and of course that wide receiver room, where they're doing all they can to try to help Bo Nix. He's not going to have J.K. Dobbins this week as he's dealing with that midfoot sprain. Is it Liz Frank? We don't know. We know he's maybe seeking some other medical opinions just to find out the best course of action. But let's hear from the guys on the podium this week a little bit. Sean Payton asked a handful of different questions about Bo Nix and this offense, and one of the questions he was asked was just, can you simplify things for Bo to make this offense more efficient?
Well, I think it's not just it's not Bo. I mean, I think it's part of the whole process offensively and constantly in our game planning this week. Certainly opponents vary what they do scheme wise. This is a pressure team, and so our job each week, we're always looking to find easy completions. When I look at the touchdown reel on Mondays, I've said this to you before, sometimes you look at a play and you just say, player, he went up, made a great play. And then sometimes someone's wide open and you click that button, you save it, and that was scheme. And so we're constantly looking at, how can we find, those throws that fit the scheme and the defense you're attacking. Obviously, the penalties, we've got to, we're doing a great job of not taking sacks, but when we're all of a sudden, 1st and 20, we've got to eliminate those.
All right, so when you hear him say that, and we know the 1st and 20, and it is the penalties. That's not on Bo when they're behind the sticks all the time necessarily, because they've been the most penalized team on 1st and 2nd down and the most penalized offense all year. But you like what you hear there from Sean?
Yeah, I like what I'm hearing. He's saying that every week he looks at the highlight reel, touchdown reel. He's looking for easy throws, simple completions for Bo. So he's saying he's doing his job every week to make that happen. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But having a veteran offensive line, the vets all across the boards, having a game experience, there's no way that we should lead the league in penalties on the offensive side. So that's something we got to definitely clean up. You cannot beat yourself. A lot of the times in the NFL, most teams beat themselves. And the teams that play smart, play consistent, don't beat themselves are usually the teams that have better success. So the Broncos have been getting away and being on the edge of beating themselves, right? So if they can eliminate those things, get more discipline, and especially with the 1st and 2nd down penalties, eliminate that so that the offense can stay ahead of the chains. Maybe they can possess the ball more. Maybe they can put more points on the board, right? So it's about playing smart football and not beating yourself.
And this isn't going to surprise, anybody that's watching us or listening to us. Bo Nix has been the focal point of why the offense has struggled. That's how it goes when you're the quarterback, unless, there's an outlier with the quarterbacks playing great, but everybody around him is playing terribly. Now, they are, I think, 2nd in the league in drops. They're also, he's, I think, leading the league in missed air yards and missed open receivers. And so, yeah, and so they're working kind of, they're not helping each other necessarily. The catchable balls aren't always being hauled in, and he's also throwing some that his guys can't get to. And we know that a run game is a quarterback's best friend. But I appreciated this from
Yeah.
Bo, and we've seen some obviously good perspective. We know that he is a religious dude and talks about who he's playing for and all that. But criticism specifically, this is the modern world. We know his wife's on Instagram plenty. That's how we found out that they were pregnant and kind of where they are as they're traveling through the offseason. Zach Wilson's whatever. We don't see a lot of posts from Bo unless they're kind of business related when he's got this ad campaign or that. But I think a lot of people appreciated that, even though he's just in year 2, that Bo seems to be able to take the criticism. This is how he responds to it.
For whatever reason in life and in football, people think that we have this opportunity to doubt or question or hype up or tear down, these guys. And it's really in sport in general. We make this entertainment business a lot bigger than what it is, and we forget that, everybody's just out here having a good time, having fun, doing the best they can. But for me, it's quite simple, really. I delete all my social media. I don't even have it. So unless somebody says it to my face, I don't really hear it. And nobody's ever bold enough to say it to your face.
I appreciate that. I mean, look, you were out there in public. I don't think Bo is living the most public life during the season. Most quarterbacks honestly don't, unless they're, want to be seen courtside at a game like, our pal Russ at Knicks game or whatever. But you don't see Justin Herbert after the bye, he and his influencer girlfriend are courtside at the Lakers game or after the Thursday night game. Fine. We haven't seen Bo at any Nugs or Avs games yet. Point being, I appreciate that he's like, unless you say it to my face. Did you ever have people in your life like, come on, Chris, we got to do better? Did you get that at all from Broncos country?
Oh man, come on, man. Look at my Twitter, Instagram.
No, not Twitter. Not Twitter. He's talking about saying it to your face. Twitter, I get. I'm talking about out getting gas, out at the store, dropping the kids off at school. It's very rare where someone's going to come at you in person.
No, not anybody Broncos country. Definitely Chiefs fans.
Sure.
Raider fans, if I see them around, for sure. But that's they're gonna see Bo everywhere, right? And once I don't know if he has that celebrity girlfriend yet, right?
It's a celebrity wife.
He's married.
You got a baby on the way.
Okay, great.
Yeah, no. So they've been together since
Herbert. Herbie, he's over there. He's got a new famous girl. Now he's hitting the scene. He's courtside, so he's different now. Maybe he might turn it up another level. With Herbert over there. But Bo, that comes with the job, man. There's gonna be people always talking about the quarterback, and especially when you're winning and the way we're winning. Right, these have been tight games, close games every week, low scoring games. So of course, people are going to talk about you and what you're doing on the offensive side of the ball. So it's going to happen. It's going to be like that forever as long as you play in Denver, right? You can be 11-1 balling and have a terrible half. You might still get a boo, right? That's just what it is out there, And we have high expectations all the way around. So I think Bo is getting used to that, and you just got to embrace it. Well,
one way that you could help them, this is an idea that I know that you're in favor of. Let's hit the rewind back to last Thursday where Dondre Tillman, the team's leader in interceptions, has another nice return. So I asked him in his at the locker about playing tight end. So here's Dondre Tillman's post-game comments about maybe helping out the offense.
If needed, would you jump to the offensive side and help out the tight end group just because they're a little big?
Yeah, I got a little bit of tight end in my background, so if they needed me, they can come get me.
Congratulations.
Thank
you. All right, and you posted on the clip, you've seen enough, put him at tight end. So I took it a step further, and you never know when you want to. You got to pick and choose your spots with a head coach. But Sean seemed to be they're 8-2, tough game this week. We know but he was doing okay. Then his voice was struggling. So about 7 or 8 questions in, I was like, all right. Let's see if I can get anything, because sometimes we're like, no, we don't think, you can get that from Sean too. But I asked Sean, I said, well, I think you can hear the question, but I asked, we heard from Tillman there. Could you look at him at tight end potentially?
I asked Tillman after another good return if he played tight end, if given the chance to see a tight end in his background. Is there ever any thought of a guy that's obviously athletic and can do that?
We always look at our defensive personnel relative to like a goal line full, those kind of things. Some teams maybe don't carry a fullback, so they use a defensive tackle but yeah, you pay attention to. I think you got to block them all for him to score, though. But it's been fun to watch.
Man, why'd he do him like that? Hey, that was a diss. See, Coach Payton, he'll sneaky diss you, and he'll do it slight like that. Like, hey, you got to block him off. He's going to score, right? He's just really slow. We got to block everybody, right? So, hopefully he gets a goal line package because, he's balling. And when he gets the balls in his hands, he's showing he got some shiftiness. He can make guys miss. But like Coach said, we need some perfect blocking.
We knew how excited everybody was with 63 as reported as eligible with Palczewski before he had to obviously get thrust in the starting lineup. Could you imagine if we heard a 92 reported as eligible and he comes in, whether they line him up on the ball, off the ball, wherever it may be, but you see 92 come into the game in a goal line package, especially because you have Mercedes Lewis, but he's so much bigger than, say, an Evan Ingram that it would be.
Get what reps?
What's that?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, Mike Vrabel had all those touchdown catches.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel.
Over the years, Vrabel, and they talked about it last night on Thursday Night Football, that he has 13 touchdowns. One's a defensive return, a pick six, 10 in the regular season and 2 in the playoffs. And I think that's kind of all the catches he has. I don't think he has any other catches except touchdowns, which makes him the most efficient, productive receiver of all time. But right. I'm all for it. Look, Sean's the king of creativity. And you probably caught it in real time last week, I think, because I haven't actually seen the clip, but on the Amazon broadcast, Bo yelling, "Get your bleeping personnel in here." And so we know that he's got a lot of packages. I'd love to see a DeAndre Tillman package because the second he comes in, and now that he's talked about it, even if he's a decoy, you have to account for him. And that might catch the defense a little off guard, or like, oh, they're not bringing him in just for fun. They'll throw it. And if you don't cover him, Bo will throw it to him.
Yeah, you got to respect it. And, maybe Sean Payton might be a little bit embarrassed, from the Garrett Bowles situation, because I'm sorry, Bowles, you got a pretty good meme, man, but you laying on the ground. All right. So he might not want to bring that back out again. But Tillman looks like he has the routes to be able to get open. He might be able to go body somebody, and be able to, run a nice jumbo route. Let's run him to the pylon, But this guy has shown the ability to be able to return, and he is leading the team with interceptions.
Yeah, you'd love to see that change and see some DBs start to get their hands on the football. That's something that, for as good as Patrick Mahomes has been, it feels like Justin Simmons has gotten him plenty. Did you ever get Mahomes in your couple of matchups with him?
Nah, I didn't get Mahomes. He always threw those deep-ass crazy routes with Tyreek Hill.
Well, I know, but I
used to get the craziest routes. We should have go back and did a game. Tyreek Hill ran probably the craziest route against me, where he ran a shallow cross, wheel route. And I'm man. That was
Monday Night Football.
He's never ran that route again. Nobody's ever seen that route.
Right.
From the corner.
Nobody. You don't like covering the fastest player maybe in NFL history for 90 yards laterally.
Before, and then he'll burn up,
and then he turn it, you're like, that's one where it's like, we know Chris is fast, but I don't know. I mean, maybe Dion could have stuck with him, but that's tough in general. But then with that, I remember it because I feel like that was the same game that Case just missed DT on the sideline. It was that Monday night game. Like, what are you supposed to do in man coverage there against that dude? So you didn't get Mahomes. The Broncos have, though. We'll see if they can get on track in terms of their takeaway. That's really the only category they're lacking defensively. But Vance Joseph yesterday met the media and was asked a question I don't think he's been asked yet, other than, he's had to compare players. I've asked him about Benito and Vaughn, but just what makes this defense so unique?
That's a great question. That makes me smile because it's a unit of unselfish people, and to watch these guys on game day, especially when a buddy makes a play and see his teammates' joy, it's really special, and that makes the unit go. It's a bunch of guys in that room that's kind of self-made, outside of Patrick. He's a top 10 pick and he's special. But, it's a bunch of guys who are self-made guys, who've grinded, who've gotten better each year, who kind of, play to the team concept. With our sack numbers, a bunch of guys get sacks and a bunch of guys kind of force sacks. But you watch when a guy gets the sack, man, they are celebrating like it was their sack. And that's the best trait of this unit. It's so unselfish and such team-first guys, and they want success for their teammates. So that makes me smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach Allen post game said, it's a few too many half sacks, but that's how it goes. You can see that though. You see the joy really on both sides of the ball, but definitely on defense, where they're playing for each other.
Oh, you can definitely see it. D-line is everybody's locked in. Everybody's rushing with a purpose. Everybody's filling their lanes, causing havoc. If Benito's going high, running around, Zach Allen's pushing the pocket up. Whether they're playing games, twists, odd fronts, double A gap, every look, Coach Joseph is putting together is making it tough on teams. And they definitely have a great chance of going to get that sack record. And I'm interested to see how they attack Mahomes. The Chiefs' O-line has probably been the weakest aspect of their team the last 2 years. I know they drafted some first-round guys this year and try to make some improvements, but I still think they're able to get to Mahomes quite a bit this game.
All right. Before we head to the film room, we're going to do this. We're going to drill down more on the third place Chiefs and go behind enemy lines. And as we go behind enemy lines, look at that.
I come in peace.
Former longtime sideline reporter for the Jayhawk football team and pre and post basketball, a proud Iowa Hawkeye, but an honorary Jayhawk, Josh Klingler, sideline reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs. But because, Josh, I was asking Chris before we came on, when he was at KU, you were doing obviously plenty of stuff with the football team in those years from 2008 through 2000 or 2008 through 2011 season, 10, whatever it was, 2007 through 2010. Right, Josh?
That's a lot of math. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of math. But Chris's career there.
Chris was there. Yeah.
Yeah, you were there doing stuff when Chris was there. Then obviously that was some good old days there. You're living in the good old days for the Chiefs kingdom. When Chris and I were at KU, the Chiefs were up and down. You and I worked together in 2003 when they went 13-3. But how is Kansas City as a fan base, let's start there, handling the third place Chiefs that are not as dominant as they've been?
Yeah, well, there's still like a belief that they're good, and I think they are. But the fact is, at some point in time, your record becomes your record, right? And you're 5-4, and so it's kind of been a bizarre 5-4. At times, this team has looked like they could be very unbeatable, and then there's been a couple of games that teams have really done some things to take away what are seemingly their weaknesses. Trevor Lawrence turned into Lamar Jackson for a game against Jacksonville and ran all over the field, bizarrely enough. It wasn't really necessarily in the game plan, but he had a lot of things done with his feet. And then Buffalo, I mean, they just picked at the linebackers, which are their weakest link in coverage, and got every tight end out in kind of the middle of space and took advantage of things there. And then, ran the football very well and had timely passing. And so teams always play them well. I think that's something we've seen over the last few years, that teams do get up to play the Chiefs. I still think they're a very good team, but you can't say, well, what the end product's going to be, because they got to get themselves in the playoff mix first. And so this is a very big game for that. I think it's a very big game if the Chiefs think they have a chance at the division race, which again is kind of weird because the bar is never set on making the playoffs. It's about usually winning the division first, but they got a long way to go to do that. And certainly Denver stands in their way. And so heading into this one, I think there's confidence, but also there's a lot of questions, certainly around town from the fan base, as to what exactly is going on. Because again, I still think this is a very good team, but 5-4 is 5-4.
Right, it's a very mediocre team right now at this point. But what do you see? Of course, the matchup is Broncos defense versus Patrick Mahomes. How do you see him being protected, right? A revamped offensive line going against his vaunted defensive line that has 40-plus sacks. How do you see them trying to protect Mahomes this game?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the key. That's the biggest key to getting after the Chiefs offensively, is to put heat on Patrick Mahomes. His numbers against pressure this year haven't been as good as they have been in the past. Now, is he running around maybe as much as he was last year when seemingly he didn't have a lot of trust in that offensive line? He did early in the season. Then he's kind of settled in, but we don't know who's going to be starting along the offensive line come Sunday. Andy Reid speaks here shortly, and I doubt he's going to really reveal his hand, but their first-round draft pick, Josh Simmons, has been away from the team now for about a month, returned to practice after the bye. I think that if they feel like he's good enough to go, he's going to get the first look at left tackle, but that might not be the case. Jalen Moore has looked okay in spurts at that left tackle spot, a guy they brought in free agency who I think were at least initially intending to be the left tackle. The left guard, Kingsley Suamataia, is just a second-year guy. He was nicked up in the last game. Wasn't on the injury report, but was really nicked up in that game. The right side of the offensive line, they've been dealing with some injuries there too. So Trey Smith's had a back issue, and Juwan Taylor has had knee, ankle. There may have been something else I'm leaving out. So they've been a little beat up. They really needed the bye week along the offensive line specifically. And then you factor in, you got to keep Patrick Mahomes clean against the Broncos, or it's going to be a long day at the office. So I don't know the who's as of yet. And I don't know exactly how healthy these guys are up front. And that's bad going into this matchup.
Yeah, because we saw against the Bills last week, and no one's going to confuse the Bills pass rush with the Broncos. I think they pressured Patrick, maybe the most he's been pressured all year, but 50-something%. And on those throws, I think his numbers weren't great. So I guess, how do you neutralize a pass rush that comes from everywhere? And how much different is this offense, I guess, with the return of Rashee Rice? Because that's something that Sean Payton mentioned. He's like, 4-back, man, he's really going.
Yeah, and they can do so many different things with him. I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't dialed up a few extra things for him during the bye week as well to kind of incorporate some different looks. They lined him up in the backfield. They'll put him out in the slot. He'll do end arounds. Deebo Samuel-like, I guess, use of him. And I think that'll probably be, up again this week because Isaiah Pacheco is missing at the running back position. And so they're a little bit thin at the running spots. And so not that the Chiefs are an overabundant run team by any means, but having your number one running back out kind of changes some things that they do. But I think Rashee Rice will probably pick up some of that slack. I think the key, though, against the pressure guys is get the ball out quick. And Patrick Mahomes has got a lot of weapons offensively. Now that they do have everybody back and everybody healthy as well, he's got a lot of options. If he can pick and choose and get the ball out to those guys quickly, that's the best way to negate things. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to try to get some quick hitting stuff to try to keep that pressure off kilter a little bit.
Well, it's going to be a good game. I see the Broncos being able to, try to eliminate Kelce. Now he's the Chiefs' leading receiver, right? How would you say him getting that rhythm, getting going, that matchup versus the rookie Barron, right? He's been the guy that's been the tight end stopper for the Broncos. How do you see that matchup happening?
I like this better than the matchup when you were kind of out there. I mean, you had a shot. Yeah, he picks on people, right? So I mean, it's and it depends on the game, right? Sometimes he's going to occupy more people, and if he doesn't, they're going elsewhere now. I think in the past, maybe they would force a little bit more to Kelce, even if he had a couple of guys around. Now I think they take a little pleasure in, hey, you want to double team somebody? We're going to go somewhere else. So I think it depends probably how he's matched up, but certainly they're going to try to look at matchups that favor him in that regard. And then, every time Travis Kelce seemingly is counted out as so many people are ready to jump on he's done and can't do it, and then he'll come out and have a big performance, and Mahomes still trusts him implicitly to find his way, certainly in the middle of the field. And so he obviously factors into what they do offensively. And then if you can get the guys going down the field a little bit, that only opens up more Travis Kelce if that is indeed the case. So their best ability, and when they're playing their best, is mixing it up and getting it to different people and keeping teams off balance. And again, that does start with keeping Mahomes clean with the front.
Yeah, we know that injuries are a part of it, but Kelce's still 540 yards leading the team by a significant margin. And just when you think you count him out, I mean, he's had so many huge games against the Broncos over the years that you want to try to keep him in check. Josh, we got to keep it moving, but I'll buy you lunch in the press box on Sunday. It'll be great to see you, and thanks for giving us some insight on the Chiefs.
You bet, guys. Good to see you again. I came in peace today. I came in peace.
Yeah, yes, sir. It's all good. Appreciate it, Josh.
See you guys.
Hey, we're just going to keep it moving, though. We're going to go, because we did a film room breakdown of the Raiders game last week, we figured let's go back to when the Broncos had some success last year in Kansas City. They had them dead to rights. If Alex Forsythe doesn't get pushed into the backfield, they kick a game-winning field goal, a chip shot, and get out of Arrowhead with a win. We know it was a JV team that played in the final week of the regular season. So we wanted to grab a couple plays that obviously showed
Yeah.
some of the Broncos' success, and then what they obviously need to look out for. So, as we do every single week, let's head in to the Chris Harris Jr. film room here on Football Friday. All right, so first play, this is the defense getting out. Look at Zach Allen where he's lined up to start.
Yep. They're starting out with 4 strong, but they have a spy right there with that middle linebacker. Spying Patrick Mahomes, keeping him in a cage, right? Keeping him in a box, right? Now it's hard for him to find that spot and run. Mahomes is a B gap runner, right? He likes to run through the B gaps and between the guards and the centers. That's where he loves to escape from. So the Broncos do a great job. They have to have a great plan all week to be able to rush the passer, keep him in the box. Do not let this guy scramble, right? And they should be able to cover them and have a great plan in the back end to be able to shut the receivers down. That's a great play by Zach Allen. He's a monster.
Well, and we don't see him line up standing up over the center too often, but you got to appreciate that creativity there. And he gets the full sack, not the half sack, to obviously, I think, set up what is going to then be a punt. Let's jump to the next play, which is, and I can pull up the numbers while we're looking at this, but we were just talking about 87, the future Mr. Taylor Swift when they get married. You think he changes his name, Travis Swift?
Nah. She'll probably go like Swift Kelsey or something like that.
Yeah. So what worked there?
Yeah. But this is what they do,
man.
They go on these formations to make it look like there's going to be run. But if you really study the Chiefs, they're never a really under center run team. They're usually more play action. So I'm pretty sure the Broncos are going to be locked in. They're going to be tuned in to know when they do get these type of formations. These are when Kelsey starts to come alive, over routes, corner routes, and play action. And that's where the Chiefs try to get their big plays. So I know we can cover these guys. Pat does an excellent job. But we got to understand that if we're playing cover 4, which we are in this situation, that the safety is going to have to be low and be able to take Kelsey on his corner route or have good presence underneath. You see that linebacker there underneath? He has to be able to drop and expand a little bit more and go deep to short. So I would tell Ellis, get your depth, get underneath this corner route, make Mahomes put a little bit more air underneath the ball, because that's really his zone to go deep to short. So, but look for this as y'all watching the game, play action when Patrick Mahomes is under center.
All right, let's jump to the next play. When you're talking about the pass rush, we know who the first guy you usually bring up is with these Broncos. Man,
did they just let him go by, right? And I mean, it could be like that this week. Under center again. Coach Chris just told y'all. They're under center. Mahomes loves to play action, right? They run the ball and shotgun. Okay, Andy Reid is not changing. He's put up 1 million points, right? So they're going to dress it up, put it in design. Benito knows his pass, right? If I'm the Broncos and I'm under center, it's pass. Let's go get a sack, right? And they have an opportunity to go do that. I'm pretty sure Benito's tuned in, and that's why he's an all-pro, right? He knows it's coming. No tight end can block him. He can get off the ball before these tackles and make big plays like this. And hopefully this weekend he's able to get the ball, take the ball from Mahomes and us being able to scoop it and score.
Yeah, you really should try to. We know Von Miller was his favorite player to mimic. Von said he was always aiming for the ball. You'll get most of the quarterback's body, but we know that Von was a master at that. All right, let's look at our final play after we see Benito crunch him one more time. And again, a little more success. How about Allen lined up over center again?
The same rush, but we brought the edge and we brought the safety, right? So we brought 5. We're in a pressure. We're in a zone pressure, right?
Yeah.
Actually, we're in a man pressure, and we cut one guy loose.
Is the safety in zone on the bottom, or he just doesn't have a man?
No, he has that tight end that's blocking.
Or that was Pat. Sorry.
Yeah, Pat has that tight end that's blocking. So that safety has to communicate with J-Mac on who they're guarding, because they're guarding the same guy.
Right.
Right. So that's what the Chiefs do. They put you in motions, put you in stacks, Andy Reid tries to trick you and dress up different plays. And sometimes it'll be the same play, but he'll make it look different, right? By formations, motion, stacks and bunches, things like that. So we have to have great communication. No busts like this, especially on 3rd and 13. In this probably game, no telling. Anytime you give the Chiefs any chance in the red zone, they usually capitalize on it.
All right. Well, that was our quick trip into the film room. We'll obviously have plenty more to break down, here coming up after this game next week, especially with the bye week. We can look at several plays, what works, and maybe if some stuff doesn't work, why it didn't work. But that was our weekly trip inside the Chris Harris Jr. film room. And so we've alluded to it. Let's jump straight from the film room into our weekly quick peek at the Bell and Pollock injury report. The Broncos, those injuries are starting to mount up. We know about PS2. We know about, obviously, we talked about Sherfield with a toe, hadn't practiced for 2 days. J.K. Dobbins not practicing. Alex Singleton with the testicular cancer recovery. They listed it as illness. They didn't get overly specific with the injury on here. Nate Atkins still battling his knee. JFM shows up limited. Nothing on Wednesday, shows up limited Thursday. And then you're also talking about the hamstring for Jonah Ellis, that he's missing practice. He left the game against the Raiders Thursday. Good chance we're not seeing Jonah Ellis. So Dondre Tillman may have to focus more on rushing the passer. But I guess the one piece of good news that you get Marvin Mims back from concussion, and Sherfield is battling through the toe. So he has been a full participant after not practicing Wednesday. But getting Mims back, just really that injury specifically, how much does that help?
I mean, that's your home run hitter, right? He's that guy that can take the top off. Gadget guy, runs your bubbles, runs your jet sweeps. Sean Payton likes to line him up in the backfield. He does it off with his team. Sets him up with great field position in the return game. So it's a Pro Bowl player, right? An all pro returner and an impact player for this team since he's been there. So it's a major piece, and he's one of the guys on the offense that they need, right? He's one of their top 5 playmakers. So it's always good to have him back, especially versus a team in the Chiefs secondary, which I don't believe is as strong as they've been in the past. Yeah, and on the Chiefs side, real quick, just a quick glance. Josh Simmons away from the team for a month for personal reasons. Your first-round pick, but as Josh told us, no Isaiah Pacheco. Xavier Worthy limited in practice after not being on the report on Wednesday. He's now dealing with an ankle that I guess he might have tweaked in Wednesday's workout or during Thursday's workout. So we'll see Xavier Worthy, the fastest player in combine history, I believe. If he can't go, that changes what they do. But that was our quick peek at the Bell and Pollock injury report. Remember, if you have an unexpected injury and you need help, there's nobody I trust more than my friends at Bell and Pollock. They are champions of the people for a reason. They will come up with a game plan that works for you. Give them a call today, 303-795-5900, or again, championsofthepeople.com. All right, Chris, before we get out of here, it's our weekly prediction time. We have fancy graphics that David made coming up here in just a second, but I don't really know if we care about our pal Vaughn and the Commanders against the Dolphins in Madrid. Still, how cool is it that the league is playing a game in Madrid at Real Madrid Stadium? And we do have that one ready to go. So Commanders, Dolphins, 7:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 where you are. Will you be up early to watch the first ever game in Madrid? Yeah, I'll be up. Yep, my girls usually wake me up, so I'll be up. Being able to play in Spain, that's fire. I would guarantee that stadium is probably killing some NFL stadiums. So they'll have a blast over there for sure.
Yeah, Real Madrid, obviously one of the richest soccer clubs in the world. And I saw where our friend Nikki Javala posted from the practice facilities. Like we were at Tottenham's practice facility with the Broncos, and said Real Madrid's was insane. And you could just see which makes sense when you're talking about, Kylian Mbappe and the rest of those guys. So it's always fun to see him in new venues. So yeah, I'll be up early watching that as well. Cause like you, I too have little kids. All right. The best game in the early window is
Sure.
Bucks and Bills, 2 6-3 teams that I think are both in need of a bounce back win. Obviously, the Bills losing that one to Miami and the Bucks losing at home to New England now have to head up to Buffalo.
Yeah, I got the Bills. Bucks, that Florida Heat, man, got to travel up to Buffalo on the road. The Bills are trying to get it back rolling. I'm going with Josh Allen and them at home.
Yeah, Bills are 5.5-point favorites in that one. Then we'll skip the Broncos till the end, but the other game that people will be watching in the afternoon, at least on the West Coast on Fox, and I guess wherever else they'll show because it's a CBS game that the Broncos are playing. The battle for first place in the NFC West, where the Seahawks host the Rams, and Rams on the road going up to one of the toughest places to play are 3-point favorites.
I got Seattle on this one. Right. I believe Seattle's defense is just a little bit better. I like their D-line. I like their secondary. They're stout all the way around in their secondary. So I'm going to go with Seattle in this game.
Yeah, I'll go opposite of you. I'm going to take the Rams on this. So I think that I like with Nakua back healthy. I want the Seahawks to prove it. I'm sorry, the game's in LA. I apologize.
We need the graphic of like our pick rankings.
Oh,
like,
yeah, we should
wins and losses.
Let's go back and look. I think I'm ahead. I'm probably ahead. On is it Sunday Night Football? You've got a heck of a game with Lions Eagles. That's the other exciting NFC game where battle two NFC teams. Lions at 6-3, and then obviously a huge game last week with Dan Campbell calling plays, 44 points, and Jahmyr Gibbs going nuts against the Eagles team that. And AJ Brown may not want you to use him on your fantasy team, but they're still finding ways to win games.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles. Eagles at home going against the Lions, a huge game.
They're 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles to win this one.
Yeah, I like the Eagles at home too, but I'm not gonna be surprised at all if I don't think either of us will be if the Lions go in there and win. And then finally, before we get out of here, the game that we're looking forward to. A lot of people were saying this is the biggest regular season game in forever. I think you have to qualify it with that didn't have elimination and playoff contention on, like, because you go back to that Patriots game a couple of years ago, that's a bigger game. But in terms of a November game, I can't remember a November game being as big as this one. The Broncos had won 8 in a row, Chiefs reeled off 15 in a row, and now it's obviously gone a little back and forth with the Broncos winning one game each of the last 2 years. And so the Broncos are 3.5-point home dogs. How do you see it playing out?
I see this game being a tight game. I always keep thinking that the Broncos games, they got to score 20 to win, but it hadn't been the case. So, but I think versus Andy Reid, you will have to score 20. I'm going 24-21 Broncos, game-winning field goal.
If you go 24-21, you'll push on the over because it's exactly 45 points. So,
oh man.
So 24-21. I'm right there with you.
Go lower.
Maybe. I definitely like the Broncos to cover. I guess my mind wouldn't be blown if the Chiefs won 20-17. But I think the Broncos, I don't know if the offense is going to do enough to really inspire confidence. It's going to be a fun conversation as they then will go into the bye. If they can win the game 30-27 or whatever it might be, 24-21, like you said, versus 16-13, where it's like, oh, the offense still can't really get it going. The defense is just all world. But I'm with you. I think I'm going to take the Broncos to win as well. I didn't make predictions on TV today because we were talking Broncos, Rock, Doug's Avs. So I'm making it right here. And I'll say it's 20-17. The Broncos kicked the game-winning field goal, but with the score tied.
Definitely a field goal. Tight game, going to the wire. I don't see any blowouts in this one. It's going to be a tight game, chess match. And whoever makes the least amount of mistakes is going to win this football game.
All right, there it is. He's Chris Harris. I'm Brandon Krisztal. Thanks to David Levine, our esteemed producer, as well as Josh Klingler, taking us behind enemy lines. Next week, might have an in-studio guest as we make our way through the Broncos bye week. So stay tuned for that. But, Chris, it's a lot of fun, and we will catch you next week on Football Fridays.